Hello everybody, it's Non-Scene Noobs here, and today we've got a lot of breaking updates today. So first, let's just get started in Venezuela. Now, as everyone probably knows here today, that the Venezuelan elections have been in full swing, but at the end of the day, the Venezuelan government has declared Nicolas Maduro re-elected with 51.20% of the votes. Now, a lot of people in Venezuela and a lot of people around the world are calling this election rigged and a fraud and illegitimate. So, one of these leaders is coming from Argentina. So, the Argentinian president has stated that Venezuelans chose to end the communist dictatorship of Nicolas Maduro. The data announced a crushing victory for the opposition, and the world awaits him to acknowledge defeat after years of socialism, misery, and decadence and death. Argentina will not acknowledge another fraud, and it hopes that the armed forces will defend democracy and the popular will this time. Freedom advances in Latin America. So, very interesting news coming from Argentina. The same kind of news is coming from the leftist president of Chile. So, he has called, the leftist president of Chile has called the Venezuelan government to release the actual transparent result of the presidential elections. And the president of Peru, well, the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Peru stated that Peru will not accept the violations of the popular will of the Venezuelan people. So, as you can clearly see, a lot of people around the world are not very satisfied with this election. And one of these people is the Secretary of State, Anthony Blinken, where he did express his thoughts on this topic with a 1 minute clip, which I would like you to watch really quickly.
If my colleagues will indulge me for just 1 minute, I want to speak quickly to the elections that just took place in Venezuela. We applaud the Venezuelan people for their participation in the July 28th presidential election. We commend their courage and commitment to democracy in the face of repression and in the face of adversity. We've seen the announcement just a short while ago by the Venezuelan Electoral Commission. We have serious concerns that the result announced does not reflect the will or the votes of the Venezuelan people. It's critical that every vote be counted fairly and transparently, that election officials immediately share information with the opposition and independent observers without delay, and that the electoral authorities publish the detailed tabulation of votes. The international community is watching this very closely and will respond accordingly.
So, if you can clearly state, coming from Anthony Blinken, that he's clearly, well, America is not convinced that this was fair, and that he stated that we have serious concerns that the result announced does not reflect the will or the votes of the Venezuelan people. The international community is watching this very closely and respond accordingly. And so far, the only countries that have really recognized the Venezuelan elections as a legitimate election is Cuba, Bolivia, Honduras, and the Islamic Republic of Iran. China has also followed. China has just congratulated Maduro on his successful re-election as president of Venezuela, and Putin, the president of the Russian Federation, has just congratulated Maduro on his re-election as president of Venezuela. So a handful of countries around the world actually recognize this as fair. So very interesting, but you got the two, well, superpowers, Russia and China, recognizing it. So now we're going to go into the Turkey events. So Erdogan, the president of Turkey, has hinted that Turkey might enter into a war with Israel. So Turkey is a NATO nation, and he has stated that Turkey could enter Israel just as it's previously entered in Calabar and Libya. He stated word by word that, I'll just state what he just stated, that we must be strong so that Israel cannot do this to Palestine. Turkey can enter Israel just as it did in Calabar and Libya. We will do the same with them. There are no reasons not to do this. We just need to be strong so that we can take these steps, said Erdogan, the president of Turkey. Now, Israel has actually responded to this statement. So Israel just reacted to Erdogan's statements, which allowed Turkey to invade Israel. The country's foreign ministry in Israel has compared Erdogan with the Iraqi president Saddam Hussein. So, very interesting. We've got news that Israeli equipment is heading to the border between Lebanon. So, if we can see here, we can see Israeli tanks, IDF military equipment are heading to the northern Israeli border with Lebanon slash Hezbollah. Many intelligence sources are reporting that Israel could start this operation against Hezbollah in the southern Lebanon is expected within 48 hours. So very interesting. So obviously this was in response of Hezbollah's attack in the in this area right here, where this Hezbollah strike did end up killing 12 children. And Israel clearly stated that it has crossed the line. Hezbollah has crossed the line. And if you can see here in your bottom left corner, Israel defenses have started to move the Iron Dome batteries and rockets to the northern border, according to the Israeli media. So Israel seems to be moving a lot of equipment here. So as we report, the Israeli Security Cabinet is currently meeting with the Israeli Defense Forces headquarters. The meeting was held urgently and is to decide on the response and option for yesterday's event. Very interesting, so we'll see what happens here, but sources are saying that this potential war might be happening in the next 40 hours. And we have just got identified objects that have been spotted over the southern Lebanon. So if we can see here, and this video is stating that an Israeli fighter jet was above central Lebanon. So if this is true, that clearly Houthi forces don't really have the capabilities of shooting down Israeli jets. But we'll see. Maybe I'm wrong, but we'll see. The Polish statements. So we've got some Polish statements that the Polish Foreign Ministry has suggested that Hungary should leave the EU and NATO. The Polish Foreign Ministry stated that I don't understand why Hungary wants to remain a member of the organizations that it dislikes so much and that allegedly treated it badly. This is certainly an anti-European, anti-Ukrainian, anti-Polish policy of Hungary. So very harsh statements that is coming from Poland towards Hungary. We've got news coming from the Interior Ministry of Minister of France, received a letter containing black powder with traces of the plague. So the letter did not actually reach him, but it was first examined at the sorting center that but the contents were sent to further examination. So very interesting. So someone tried to kill this man, but I'll keep you updated on that. So someone clearly tried to kill this man, but I'll keep you updated on that. So the Japanese Minister of Educational, Culture, Sports and Science has arrived in Ukraine. During his visit, he plans to hold several meetings with the Ukrainian counterpartners to discuss joint projects and opportunities in further cooperation. So this man came from Japan, and he's going to discuss Japanese and Ukrainian cooperation in the future. So we got some news coming from the Washington Post that the first F-16 jets have arrived in Ukraine, but the Washington Post has stated that, but this may not tip the advantage against the Russians. So, according to the Washington Post, the first F-16 has arrived in Ukraine. Now, the Russians have stated that it will respond very hardly and very harshly to these F-16s. So Russia did say this was a red line. So apparently, to the Washington Post, jets have arrived in Ukraine. So, well, so if you put two and two together, so Ukraine and NATO have crossed the red line. So we'll see what happens here. So we got news coming from St. Petersburg that the Russian president, has stated that Russia is to consider itself free on deploying its own weapons if the US stations Tomahawk missiles in Germany, so Putin stated. So, very big news coming today. It's unclear where these missiles will be stationed. So Russia's already deployed nuclear and tactical nuclear weapons in Belarus, maybe in Kaliningrad, which there's already nuclear missile silos there. So they'll probably Russia might send some missiles maybe to Cuba, do another Cuban missile crisis, but it's unsure. But Putin has also compared the US statements about plans to deploy precision-guided weapons in Germany to the times of the Cold War. So we got some news coming from Moscow that Moscow does not expect an improvement in relations with Washington. So it doesn't care who wins the presidential elections in the USA, the assistant to the president has stated. Russia does not expect the US to change its policy towards Russia regardless of who wins the US elections, so we don't care. We don't care at all. If Trump or Kamala Harris wins, nothing will change for the better for us. So, very interesting point of view that the assistant to the president, well, the assistant to Putin stated. So, very interesting. So, we got some news coming from North Korea that the North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has personally supervised the rescue operation and evacuation of residents in the areas affected by heavy downpour. So there's been some huge floodings that's been happening in North Korea, if we can see in these images right now. So there's been a record of heavy downpour took place in the north of the country. So the water level was significantly extended to a dangerous mark that caused more than 5,000 people to be isolated in areas at risk of flooding. So Kim Jong-un has personally supervised the rescue of this operation and evacuations of these residents in areas affected by the heavy downpour. So if you can see him, he seems to be watching. So very interesting. We got some news coming from Malaysia that Malaysia has stated that Malaysia sent the letter to Russia with the application to join BRICS, and also is expressing its readiness to become a strategic partner of the organization. The country's prime minister said that previously that Malaysia said it would buy oil from Russia despite the sanctions, stated the prime minister of Malaysia. So Malaysia is getting closer to Russia, and Malaysia has just sent its application to join BRICS. So very interesting. So that's all the news I have for you today. I am Non-Scene News. I will try and provide you news that medias around the world do not show you. I do these videos hopefully daily, so please consider subscribing and liking. And if you want to help me personally, please consider donating through Super Chat, through YouTube, or becoming a member through YouTube. So thank you very much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one. Bye.